It's still unclear whether the Strait of Hormuz is open or not. It might sound strange, but it's true. After Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the Strait of Hormuz would open, the Revolutionary Guard countered, stating only ships they approve can pass. Today, we'll examine this issue further. Let's begin. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on X that due to the Lebanon ceasefire, all merchant ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz during the ceasefire. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said ships must follow the adjusted route announced by the Iranian Ports and Maritime Organization, which runs near Iranian territory. Ships were originally routed near Oman, but Iran now directs them closer to its territory. Afterward, President Trump posted on Truth Social that Iran announced the Strait of Hormuz is now fully open and ready for passage. As a result, there was growing anticipation that the Strait of Hormuz might have been opened. Fortunately, it appears that many oil tankers are currently moving and passing through the Strait of Hormuz. There's less movement than before, but still a significant amount, which is somewhat reassuring. It seems that internal conflicts continue within Iran. There are several reasons for this. First of all, there are signs of division within Iran. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi, who is part of the Iranian government, announced that the Strait of Hormuz would be opened. However, according to reports from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and Fars news agency, the foreign minister's unexpected tweet about the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, followed by Trump's nervous bravado, has plunged Iranian society into a fog of confusion. He expressed regret for providing information without sufficient explanation. It's a bit strange, isn't it? This means that the Iranian government and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are not unified in their statements right now. Also, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is seen protesting to the Iranian government, asking why they made a unilateral announcement without consulting them. Most importantly, what the Iranian Revolutionary Guard revealed was even more shocking. Fars news agency reports only commercial ships can pass the Strait of Hormuz. Warships are banned, ships or cargo can't be linked to hostile countries, and only vessels approved by the Revolutionary Guard may pass. This is actually not much different from before. What we need to see as more dangerous now is the rift between the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the Iranian Foreign Ministry. It appears to be one country, but actually conflicting messages are emerging simultaneously. There are already differing opinions within the Iranian Foreign Ministry. The Foreign Ministry is declaring the area open and sending conciliatory signals to the world, while the Revolutionary Guard stresses passage restrictions and strict approval using very different standards. This means the chain of command is not unified. The Navy, patrol boats, and missile units are led by the Revolutionary Guard. What happens if the Foreign Ministry's statements conflict with field command? The ship might think it has permission to enter, but this may not be recognized on sight. Warning shots or mistakes could happen if communication fails. Especially in a tense situation, these small clashes can quickly escalate into military conflict. The more serious problem is that both sides believe they are the ones in control. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs believes there is no problem because they have declared the area open, while the Revolutionary Guard believes their own rules take precedence. The greater this gap becomes, the more unstable the situation on the ground gets. The reason this happened is because the Israeli military killed all of Iran's moderates in airstrikes, leaving only the hardliners behind. Among them, since the Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces are still around, they have taken control of the entire country, which is why these things are happening. Because of this, there is no unified opinion even within Iran, and the confusion is only getting worse. President Trump's remarks also hindered the full opening of the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump stated that the Strait of Hormuz is fully open and ready for business and complete passage. But until our dealings with Iran are 100% complete, only Iran will face a full naval blockade. This suggests an intent to maintain pressure until a peace deal is made. Iran strongly protested this. Ghalibaf, the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, warned that if the United States continues the naval blockade, Iran will not keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Speaker Ghalibaf warned that if the US maintains its maritime blockade of Iran, the Strait of Hormuz will not be opened. He added that passage will follow designated routes with Iran's permission, and decisions about opening or closing the waters should be made on the ground, not on social media. So he directly refuted President Trump's statement that the Strait of Hormuz is completely open. President Trump has also repeatedly claimed that Iran was allowed to enrich and export uranium before negotiations, and that Iran agreed to permanently halt its nuclear program. But Speaker Ghalibaf said that the US president made 7 claims in 1 hour, and he revealed that all of them were false. He said that with such lies, you cannot win a war, and you will not achieve any results in negotiations either. In the end, since both sides keep mixing truth and lies, it seems that confusion among the public and the markets is only increasing. Crucially, it appears that the Strait of Hormuz has not been fully reopened. In this situation, President Donald Trump makes a bombshell announcement that impacts both war and peace. He directly mentioned the possibility of not extending the ceasefire if a peace agreement is not reached by the 22nd, effectively setting a deadline for the negotiations. During a meeting with reporters, he used the expression that he would not extend it, and this statement is interpreted not as a simple prediction, but as a strong signal to pressure the negotiations. He also stressed the maritime blockade against Iran would continue. He will keep up military pressure during negotiations, essentially declaring that failed talks could quickly lead to military action. More importantly, his next statement deserves attention. President Trump said if the agreement fails, they may have to bomb again, indicating the military option remains available. This statement is more than a threat. It suggests operations could resume, increasing pressure on Iran and signaling tension to the international community. This message, noting the maritime blockade and the possible resumption of air raids, shows diplomacy and military action are still connected. What's interesting is that, at the same event, a statement with a completely different tone followed. Just a few minutes later, he expressed strong confidence in reaching an agreement, saying he expected a deal to be made within a day or two. This statement was the opposite of the earlier hardline message. On one hand, there's talk of resuming bombings, while on the other, there's an outlook for an immediate peace agreement. These double messages are being sent out at the same time. Putting all this together, President Trump's intention is to pressure the negotiating counterpart by holding military threats in one hand and the possibility of a quick agreement in the other. It's a structure that instills fear that the situation could rapidly worsen the longer the negotiations are delayed, while at the same time creating the expectation that everything could be resolved quickly if an agreement is reached right now. This approach limits the other side's choices. Delay leads to war, while signing immediately brings stability. These remarks matter now because they're likely to prompt real action, not just diplomatic rhetoric. Since a naval blockade is already in place and the resumption of airstrikes has been mentioned, the 22nd is likely not just a formal date, but could become a real military turning point. At the same time, the emphasis on the possibility of a settlement within a day or two is also seen as a sign that negotiations are in their final stages. Of course, that's because the Strait of Hormuz has not remained fully open. This is unbearable for Europe and East Asia. Reports say Europe has just 6 weeks of aviation fuel left. With crude oil not properly supplied to Korea, oil prices are soaring. The UK and France announced on the 17th they will lead a defensive international mission to coordinate in the Strait of Hormuz. More than 12 countries have announced that they will provide assets for the freedom of navigation and defensive mission in the Strait of Hormuz. That day, representatives from around 50 countries and international organizations across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East attended. Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni visited the Élysée Palace, while President Lee Jae-myung joined by video conference. They announced a military planning meeting in the UK next week to reveal the international mission structure, with results expected soon. The international mission in Hormuz is expected to take on defensive roles such as military escorts for safe passage after the war, clearing routes, and sharing information. President Trump called NATO a paper tiger, saying he doesn't need their help and telling them to stay out. Still, the UK and France seem determined to move forward with this. The Strait of Hormuz is not fully open yet. Some ships are passing through, but not in the dozens at a time seen before. Hundreds or even thousands of ships are stuck waiting at the Strait of Hormuz. This must be resolved soon, but since both sides are just locked in a battle of nerves, we're the ones suffering. How can we fix this? Honestly, I think this is the first time I've seen a situation with so few answers. Still, the good news is that the Strait of Hormuz has opened up to some extent, so it's expected that there will be good news for Korea soon. I really hope this situation gets resolved quickly so that oil prices can stabilize as well.